Before the text even arrived, the fans had already decided. The villa was glowing again. Golden light spilled across the infinity pool, champagne glasses clinked, and nervous laughter echoed beneath strings of fairy lights. It was the final week of Love Island All-Stars, and every islander knew the next text could change everything. But outside the villa walls, something even more powerful was happening. The fans were talking, and this time they were convinced they already knew who was about to be dumped. Inside the dressing room, Isla Morgan stared at her reflection, smoothing down her satin dress. She'd returned to the villa determined to rewrite her story. Her first season had ended in heartbreak and public doubt. This time, she had paired up with Mason Reed, charming, camera-ready, and quick with the compliment. On paper, they were strong, but something felt rehearsed. Across social media, viewers had begun dissecting every glance and every laugh. Clips circulated of Mason hesitating before saying, "I'm falling for you." Side-by-side comparisons showed Isla reacting half a second too late to his jokes. Comments piled up. "They're not genuine. It feels forced. They won't make the final." Inside the villa, though, Isla and Mason were convinced they were safe. "We've had zero drama," Mason said confidently as he adjusted his jacket. "People love stable." Isla nodded, but her stomach twisted. Stable didn't always mean memorable, and memorable was what won finals. That evening, the islanders gathered around the fire pit. The familiar chime cut through the air. "Islanders, tonight there will be a public vote dumping. The couple with the fewest votes will leave the villa immediately." A collective inhale. Public vote. The one thing they couldn't control. Nadia and Finn, the villa's playful sweethearts, squeezed each other's hands. Luca and Sienna, who had survived a cheating rumor and come back stronger, looked steady. Kai and Eliza whispered reassurances to one another. And then there was Isla and Mason. Mason smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Hours later, dressed in their sharpest outfits, the couples lined up under the soft glow of terrace lights. The host stood before them, envelope in hand. "The public has been voting for their favorite couple." Silence draped over the fire pit. In no particular order, the first couple safe and through to the final is... A long breath. Is Isla and Mason. Harper gasped. Joel looked stunned. But the reaction that echoed loudest wasn't inside the villa, it was online. Within seconds, posts flooded timelines. "We knew it. No chemistry. Public vote never lies." Isla managed a composed smile, though her chest felt hollow. Mason wrapped an arm around her shoulders, whispering, "We did our best." Did we? She wondered. As they walked out of the villa hand in hand, applause followed. Polite but muted. Backstage, after microphones were clipped into place and the reality of elimination settled in, Isla exhaled deeply. "It's strange," she admitted during her exit interview. "You feel safe because there's no drama, but maybe people need to feel something when they watch you." Mason nodded. "Maybe we were too careful." Clips from their journey rolled on the screen. Romantic picnics, soft conversations, supportive pep talks. But placed side by side with the fiery arguments, tearful reconciliations, and passionate declarations of the other couples, their story felt quieter, calmer, easier to forget. The next morning, the remaining islanders awoke to a different energy. The final was days away, and the message was clear. Safe didn't equal strong. Nadia turned to Finn as they sipped coffee by the pool. "It's mad, isn't it? Everyone online said Isla and Mason would go." Finn nodded slowly. "It's like the public can sense when something's missing." That thought lingered over the villa like a cloud, because the fans hadn't just predicted the dumping, they had dissected it in advance. Engagement charts, popularity polls, viral moments all pointed in one direction. Viewers weren't passive, they were analysts, storytellers, and judges rolled into one, and they'd already made their minds. Outside the villa walls, Isla scrolled messages on her phone for the first time in weeks. Thousands of notifications flooded her screen. Some were supportive. You deserved more time. You seemed sweet. Others were blunt. It didn't feel real. Zero spark. She set her phone down and stared ahead. Maybe they're right, she said quietly. Mason looked at her. About what? That we were trying to be perfect instead of honest. There it was. In their effort to avoid conflict, they avoided vulnerability. No raw arguments, no messy confessions, no risks. And viewers noticed. Back in the villa, as the finale approached, emotions ran higher than ever. Couples stopped playing it safe. Declarations became bolder. Apologies became tearful and real. No one wanted to be predictable. Because in this All-Stars season, the biggest lesson wasn't about popularity, it was about authenticity. Finale night arrived in a blaze of lights and roaring cheers. The remaining couples stood tall, aware that millions were watching and analyzing. When the winners were eventually crowned, confetti rained down in celebration. But even amid the joy, one truth lingered. The fans had seen it coming. They had sensed the cracks in Isla and Mason's polished surface. They had read between the smiles and the scripted-sounding lines, and days before the text ever buzzed through the villa, they'd already predicted the outcome. Weeks later, in a candid podcast interview, Isla reflected on her experience. "I think people underestimate how perceptive viewers are," she said. "You can't fake chemistry, you can't fake connection, and if you try, they'll know." Her words resonated, because in a villa built on sun-soaked romance and glittering finales, the real power didn't sit at the fire pit, it sat in living rooms across the country, and sometimes, long before the dramatic pause, the audience already knows who's going home.